Hello. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I not only take care of a bunch of pets, but I also work in a biology lab as a job. And when I post about it on Instagram, I tend to get a lot of questions about it, a lot of people interested in what I do. And so I thought I would make just a video going over pretty much all that I do in my job as a super duper entry-level biology lab job. I know that when I'm starting new jobs and going to new places, I like to watch videos and read about the things that are gonna happen there. I'm just an anxious person, but maybe you feel the same. Maybe you're starting a new lab job. Maybe you're just curious. But I'm just gonna go over some of the stuff that I do and my experiences. A lot of my job, as it's a super duper entry level job, and it's just at the college that I go to, which is a community college at the moment. I'm transferring after this semester, but most of the job is just preparing labs for the students at the college, and we set up the labs for all of the classes, all of the bio classes. This first portion of the video is going to be the microbiology section, which is a solid 80% of my job just because of my work schedule, but a lot of it is just making media. I tend to get a lot of questions about media when I post it on Instagram, but it's essentially just what bacteria is cultured on. It's food and a home for bacteria, so we prepare the media so that students can inoculate their own bacteria, or we inoculate bacteria for them so that they can look at it under microscopes or do experiments with it. So that's a good portion of my job. We make broth, which is what I'm doing now, which is just a liquid form of media. We either pour it into test tubes or bottles. We also tend to make agar, which is a solidified version of media, which can be in test tubes as slants or in plates. But it's all pretty much the same technique, just stirring it or boiling it, whatever it needs to do. This job has honestly given me a lot of really great opportunities. Again, I'm going to a community college right now, and a lot of people underestimate what community college can do for somebody, honestly, and I had the same mindset going into it. I was like, I'm just gonna go in, go out, then I can transfer and do what I really want to do, you know? I'm just gonna be a bio major until I can transfer and do research at a big college. But working here has given me a lot of opportunities. I started working here my first semester of college, and because of that, I started knowing the bio professors before even taking a bio class, which was awesome. That way I knew whose classes to take, because I already had preferences of what professors I liked. And not only that, but people can see when you're passionate about something, and these professors definitely saw that I was passionate about biology, and one professor even offered me like research opportunities and stuff, which I'm still working on. If you follow me on Instagram, it's a lot of the research that I'm doing with this professor. I'm doing scorpion research and lizard research. It's really exciting and something that you wouldn't expect to get out of a community college. So I find that very exciting and just something that not many people get the opportunity to do. So always look out for opportunities, and community college is not a waste of time, I promise. This is me inoculating some bacteria. I don't get to do it often, but it's one of my favorite parts of the job. I just feel kind of sciency, I guess. A lot of the job is definitely not super sciencey, but it's just good to get experience on, like making media and things that you'll see later. It's good to have experience in. It's things that happen in every lab for the most part, but I don't know. inoculating bacteria just feels a little bit more sciencey, you know? Feels more bio. The rest of the stuff, I feel like I could pretend I'm working at a coffee shop because it's a lot of cleaning and stirring. But in the beginning of the job, I used to clean a lot of glassware. If you're first starting out in a biolab or in the science field in general, you will be working with just a lot of glassware, just cleaning a lot. You know, you go into the science profession thinking like, I'll never have to be a dishwasher because I'm going to be smart moneymaker in the science field. And then you just end up being a dish slave just with fancy dishes. But it's not too bad. I find it kind of relaxing. And then now, since I've been working there for about a year and a half, I really don't wash glassware all that much unless I'm training someone new on how to wash glassware. But you know, it's a part of the learning process. It's, if you're starting out in a biolab, just expect a lot of cleaning. Obviously, labs need to be clean because we work with bacteria and animals, especially biolabs. It can get dirty really fast because of the field that we're in, you know, everything's alive, so we need to keep everything fairly sterile. Since I'm not in a research lab, it's not as strict or crazy, but regardless, good to get practice on for when I eventually am in a research lab. This is me labeling some slants, which are test tubes with agar in it, which is slanted. If I've learned anything, I've learned that biologists are not very creative with naming things. You think of any species name and you're like, yep, that is what it is. We're not very creative, but again, I feel like most of my job is quite relaxing. I personally really like working alone. I think I just work well alone. Not that I don't work well with people, but that's one thing I really like about the job is that there's very few people working at one time. If you're lucky, every once in a while we'll like hire a bunch of people and it's crazy for a little bit until people just like kind of weed themselves out. Since we're a community college, we can't really like not hire people if they want to be hired. So sometimes it gets a little bit crazy, but they weed themselves out. Another great thing about this job is that it gives me time to do homework. You know, if I do everything that needs to happen that day and my shift isn't over, I get to do homework, which as a bio major, you know, you have lots of, not necessarily homework, but just studying in general and things of that nature, lab reports, whatever you gotta do, which just another perk of the job. Please don't make fun of how I hold my pen. I don't want to talk about it. I've always held it weird. I'm sorry, but if you saw my handwriting, I feel like you would not. No, I think I have okay handwriting. That's what I'm saying. But for other parts of the lab, when I'm not doing microbiology, because again, that's like 80% of my job, but other things that I do is set up the labs for like organismal biology, just intro biology, molecular biology. I set up all of those labs, and some of it has to do with animals, obviously, a lot of anatomy stuff. So this is me dissecting a worm, nothing crazy. Worms are very easy to dissect, you know, just cut a straight line, essentially. But I like dissecting things. I know it's probably weird since my entire account is just how I love animals and have all these pets, and I do, but I also appreciate death quite a bit. I've always really liked like bones and stuff, so I like dissecting. I think it's kind of cool. This whole portion of this video is just me setting up a lab. This is the 101 lab, so this is like super intro biology, which is fun to show because it's the most visual of labs, because it's the students have never really seen a lot of biology before, so everything's really visual and fun. It's kind of like I don't want to say for children, but I think children really like it. This is actually one of the labs I show children because it's just fun to look at. There's a lot of specimen to look at, a lot of animals and bones, and it's a fun lab. I really like it. So it's one of my favorite to show off and to set up. And yeah. The students do dissections. That's what that bucket was. We no longer do starfish dissections. This whole video is really old. If you can't tell, if you don't follow me on Instagram, I guess you wouldn't be able to tell, but I look totally different now. Honestly, this video was recorded ages ago. But we don't do starfish dissections anymore due to starfish just being not available, to say the least. There's a big starfish crisis right now, if you aren't aware. This next portion of the video is animal related, which is more accustomed to this channel. One of the main reasons they liked me to be in this job is because they have display animals that we show to students for some labs, and I have taken it upon myself to just be the animal manager. Essentially, I take care of all of the animals. They were in horrible conditions when I started there, and they're not in like the ideal conditions in my eyes right now, but it's significantly better with the materials that are in the lab available to me. We have tarantulas, we used to have an alligator lizard, hissing cockroaches, snails, we're gonna get anoles soon, or anoles, and this is another really, and isopods, sorry, but another really fun part of the lab, and a reason I love working here is it has a lot of my passions just mixed into one, and I get to do it every day and get paid for it. So this is me just giving one of the tarantulas a little enclosure upgrade. We have a Chilean rose hair, which I'm still working on like rehabilitating, and a curly hair tarantula, and we currently also have a bunch of scorpions that we're doing research with, but once the research is done, I'm gonna make pretty enclosures for them as well. So it's just really fun. I don't know. I really like my job, personally. This is the tarantula. This is the curly hair. Why am I blanking? But she's great. She's honestly one of my favorite tarantulas that I've cared for. This curly hair, when we got her, had like a huge bald spot on her abdomen. What the heck? Had a huge bald spot on her abdomen, but it's getting better. Honestly, I rant about this on Instagram, but one of the main things I don't like about this job is that we have to get our animals and supplies from certain places because the school, has to say okay to our purchases, and the only place that we can buy from are like science stores, like science supply stores, but they wild catch their animals that they sell, which is insane to me because you would think as a science supply store you would be educated on why that's bad. If you're into science, you're supplying for biologists, you would think that it would be common sense that just breed the animals. It's better for any ecological argument. Like, there's no argument that biology can back up where you would prefer wild caught, I feel like. At least that's my opinion as somebody who is very passionate about captive animals. But regardless, these animals are still pretty cool, and I'm hoping one day I will convince them to change their practices. I don't think I have much power, but you never know. I'll try my best. this is me giving another enclosure upgrade. I think this one's to the Chilean rose hair though. And not to keep talking about Instagram, I'm so sorry, but on my Instagram there are like before and after pictures of when I got to the lab and after I got to the lab of these animal enclosures that were just, I can't even describe how bad they were. Like, this tarantula was on this. Also, by the way, this was not the enclosure before either, but it was in like a centimeter of sand with a clear plastic cup as a hide and just dead crickets everywhere. I was so sad when I started working there, but luckily they just gave me free range of anything I wanted to do with animals and said go for it. I'm working on having bioactive enclosures, especially for the anoles that are coming soon, and yeah, I'll keep everybody updated on that. This Chilean rose hair is obviously quite skinny. She was like that when I got here. We're working on it. It's hard to get other food other than worms in the lab just because it's hard to keep. I'm working on it. I'm probably just gonna breed dubia roaches there because they're the easiest and better than mealworms and superworms all the time. This is the Madagascar hissing cockroach, one of them. We used to have 3. The population's been declining, but they've had them forever, like way before I started working there. And I love them. I think they're so fun. They've given me such a stronger appreciation for roaches. And that's pretty much what I do in the lab. This isn't necessarily a day in the lab like I suggest, but it's a good idea of the things that I do throughout the day on different days. So I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching.